Hello and welcome to Mahika Tutorials. In previous tutorial, we have seen how we can use try catch with checked exception. We were trying to create a file and we were writing certain data to the file. So let us execute this once again to understand what we were trying to do. Now here we were getting an exception, file not found exception, and the reason for that was because we had given the path which does not exist on my machine. Like here I have given D drive, so D drive is not on my machine, so I'm getting this file not found exception. So now since this exception occurs, your file is not going to be created, the control will go to this catch block and then finally block will be executed. If you will observe the output, we are getting one more exception over there, java.lang.nullPointer exception. And the reason for that is when we are saying fw.close, actually fw refers to null because this statement failed. So what we can do here, we can put one if statement. We may say if fw is not equals to null, then this file should be closed. Now what will happen, even if exception occurs, since we are handling it in the catch block, when file not found exception will occur, this catch block will be executed and then finally will be executed and then we will get our rest of the code executed. See, file not found exception because the path is incorrect, and then this finally block is getting executed where file is getting closed, and then we are getting this rest of the code from the main method executed. Okay, so this was how we can deal with the checked exceptions using try catch. Now what we will do, we will try to do the same thing, but rather than using try catch block, we will opt for throws option and then we will see what is the difference between the two. What happens when we use try catch and what happens when we use throws. In case of try catch, even if exception occurs, since catch is the handler block, this will be executed and then if we have given finally block will be executed and then the flow for rest of the code will be normal. That is, rest of the code will get executed in the normal manner. Now let's create another class where we will use throws rather than try catch. Let's say file write ex. We want main method. Now here what we will do, we will write our method in which we are creating the file and writing data to it. Let's say create method again. And here what we want the object of file writer to be created. And here we will give the name of the file to be created. Let's say ABC we have already created. Let's say xyz.txt. And here we are getting error. Why? Because this file writer is a checked exception class. So either we should surround this with try catch or we should declare it using throws. So now we will opt for throws declaration. Okay, so we have given that create method throws IO exception. Throws keyword is used with the method signature and we can give more than one exceptions also if required, like throws IO exception, comma, SQL exception, and so on. If it is required, we can give multiple exception names with the throws keyword separated by commas. Since it is not required, I'm going to remove it. Now here we need to write certain data to our file, so we will select write method and then we will pass the data to be written. Let's suppose welcome to Java and we need to, oh, it should be right. Okay, and then we can give closing statement, that is we need to close the file. We can give a message on the console, file created. And now we just need to call this method in our main method. So let us first instantiate our class so that we can call that method. And with this instance, we will call our create method. Fine. Now here again we are getting error. Why? Because there is no handler in this create method. We have given just the declaration using throws. So here again, either we should give this method call within the try catch, or we should declare using throws. So we will first opt for try catch, and then we will see what happens if we use throws over there. Now here we can add a statement to the catch block. Let's suppose file creation failed. Similarly, we can give a statement thereafter, let's say rest of the code. Okay. Now here what we have done, we are creating this file, writing data to the file and closing the file thereafter. Now what if everything goes fine, that is if there is no exception. Let's execute this and check the output. We are getting the message file created, that is file has been created and data has been returned to a file. At the same time we are getting rest of the code, because after the create method has been executed, rest of the code is getting executed over there. Now what if an exception occurs in our code? Let's suppose if we give here D drive. Now since D drive does not exist on my machine, it should give us an exception, file not found exception. When we do not give any path, in that case file is created in the path where our current workspace is. Now here if we are explicitly giving the path, and if this does not exist, then it will give you an exception, file not found exception. So let's execute this and check the flow of execution. Now here you can see we are getting this file not found exception because D drive does not exist on my machine. Once exception occurs, what happens? The JVM looks for the handler in the current method. Since handler is not there, you have just declared it using throws, the JVM looks for the handler in the calling method. And since main method has this handler, that is catch block is there, this handler block is executed, and then rest of the code is executed in the normal manner. So this file created failed message we are getting from the catch block, and then rest of the code will be executed. Now this was a case where the calling method was having handler. Now what if neither this create method nor this calling method has the handler? Then let's see what happens in that case. So for that, let's remove this try catch block. Okay, now let's call this method and add throws declaration. Fine. So now what will happen when exception will occur in this create method, handler will be looked in this create method, but if handler is not there, JVM is going to look for the handler in this calling method. And when the handler will not be there in this calling method as well, then in that case our exception goes unhandled and it will lead to the abnormal termination of our code. We can execute this and verify our output. Now here we are getting file not found exception, but we are not getting rest of the code thereafter. And reason for that is because we are not providing handler in this calling method as well. Exception goes unhandled. So this is the difference between using try catch and throws. When we use try catch, catch is the handler block. Once exception is handled, then our rest of the code is executed in the normal way. Whereas when we use throws, throws just declares the exception. If an exception occurs in the called method and handler is not there, JVM looks for the handler in the calling method. If it is there, then again exception will be handled and rest of the code will be executed in the normal way. But if the handler is not in the calling method as well, then exception goes unhandled and our program gets terminated abnormally and rest of the code is not executed. Thank you for watching this tutorial. Please subscribe the channel if you have not subscribed it yet.